discussion we're having is just a general discussion. We're not giving anyone financial advice or advice on living and moving to Asia. This is just our individual experiences that we're relaying to everyone for the benefit of those who have so many questions out there and who are thinking of being able to do the same. Zoe, what city are you in?
Beijing.
In Beijing. And how long have you been there? In China?
Oh, shit. Sorry. Oh, the language.
That's fine. Tell us basically, how long have you been in
Sorry.
China? How old is your little one?
So I came to China in October of 2013, but I did take somewhat of a year off when I got pregnant. So I do have 1 year of unaccounted for in China. And then I also had another 11 months that I was stuck back home during COVID. So practically 2 years, I did not leave it here. So I would say 11 years.
11 years. That's quite
Does
some
that
time.
make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how old is your little one?
She is 7 years old.
7 years old. So grade one as well then. Okay. All right. Mine.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, I also have a 7-year-old. I don't know if yours are as difficult as mine. I think they probably all are. Anyway, that's one thing that they all have in common. Mine's also a little girl. Then next down on my screen is Boulay. Boulay, how are you? You're on mute. I don't know if you're on mute, so I can't hear you. If you can just click the microphone button.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. So how are you, Boulay?
I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
Good, thank you. Can you tell everyone more or less how long you've been in China and also how old is your little one?
So I came to China in 2020. So I guess I've been here for 4 years. And then, I came 2020 and I gave birth the same year.
Oh, that's right. I remember discussing that with you. Yes, alone in China during COVID. It had to have been scary. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Special. The word is special. Different. So many words. My God. I cannot imagine it.
No. And what city are you in, Boulay?
Excuse me?
What city are you in?
I am in Beijing now.
Also in Beijing, okay. And then Zianda, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you again. So tell us a little about you and your little one. How long have you been in China and how old is she?
Okay, so I came to China 2019. So I think this is my 5th year. Yes. And then Linani only came last year, 2023. So she's only been here for like 1 year or a few months. Is it 1 year? I think it's 1 year. 1 year. 1 year and a few months. Yeah. Guys, it was so hard leaving her because I came 2019 and she was only 1. Now, when I went to go pick her up, she was 4 years old. So I came to a totally like a grown-up, someone who can ask me questions. She was already questioning me. Why did you leave me? Do you think this is a decision that you took?
Yeah.
So bringing her this side, I think it was challenging not having her here, but then having her here now and taking that decision, it really helped a lot.
That's good. This is the thing. I have some clients and know of so many people where they've left their little ones behind at home and then gone abroad ahead of time to try and create a life there before bringing the little ones across. It's an extremely difficult, thing to do. Sort of, I don't know if it's because I'm a dad. It would have been nice to maybe have one of the dads on this because maybe girls just know how to manipulate their dads more than their moms as such. Although, yeah, my wife is also a lot less full of nonsense than I am in terms of discipline, so possibly. So the three of you, would you say then that having a child with you in China, is it really a difficult thing or are you glad that you have them there with you?
Emotionally, can I go first?
Yes, you can.
I'm gonna say it's 50-50. It
50,
is
50.
difficult. There are times where I cry and I'm like, oh my word. Or sometimes I question myself, did I take the best decision? Am I sure that this is what I want to do? Is this the best thing for both of us? Because first of all, we're depriving them of family. They don't have that. They don't have that. And for me, my daughter grew up in a family for like more than 4 years. So she knows that background of having a grandma to go and cry to, or having to go to another house for sleepovers and whatnot. So sometimes I do feel like, no, 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 no. And when everything is just on you, because everything now is just on me. There's no one else that can take the weight off me. She's crying right now in the room. I can't say, oh, go and just deal with her, like everything is just on me. But also emotionally, when I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening, if I just look into my daughter's eyes, everything just feels okay. So emotionally, I think, yes, I want her here. And with the things that I get to do with her, spending time with her, this is what I want. But
Yeah,
sometimes,
I understand. And I follow you quite a lot online, and yeah, the things that you're able to do, it's incredible.
yes.
Boulay, what would you say worthwhile the fact that you have her with you, your little one with you in China?
It's a boy. Have him.
Boy, sorry, yes.
Yes. Um. Well, I'll also say 50-50 because it's good for me to be with him. It's good for kids to be with their parents, right? Because they can do anything they want to do. They can cry to you. They can depend on you. It's good for him, for his well-being and growing up. But he doesn't have friends. He doesn't have friends. He doesn't have family. And also he questions everything. He's like, oh, why are you brown? Why am I brown? I want to be white, like Chinese. He's asking a lot of questions. He's confused. He wants to have friends. He wants to be with grandma. He wants to be with his family, but he's not with them. So it's difficult for him. It's very difficult for his social skills. That's the problem, the social
Yeah.
skills, because it's weird. He keeps on asking questions. Oh, why can't I speak Chinese? Why can't? Because Malachi was born here. He stayed here for 2 years. And then because he didn't know his roots, because I would ask him, what's your nationality? And he would say Chinese. Nishina Goran, Washichong Goran. He didn't know himself because he hadn't been home. We were
Yes,
stuck here during COVID. So that's why he had to go home for a year, then come back. So while he was home, I was here alone. And I wasn't happy.
I'm
I wasn't
sure.
happy.
I'm sure.
It was difficult for me. It was very difficult because I was so used to having him around. But now he's not here. I missed him so much. Something was missing. So I had to go back and get him.
Bring him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoe, are you happy that your little one is with you?
Well, let's first be clear that I don't come from the same generation as Uzianda and Bulelwa. They are a little bit younger than me by a decade, I think, at least, both of them. Yes, I am a very late bloomer when it comes to motherhood. Right?
Little Janet, she didn't say I was younger, but we'll leave that.
I gave birth at 35, and I think both of them gave birth in their
No.
early 30s, if not their late 20s, right? So very different in terms of, just that gap. But I appreciate what they've both mentioned. I remember Ziyanda's like plight because I think I was probably one of the first South African moms that brought their child to China. I don't know any other mom that had their child here in China, but I do know that after a few months that everybody had seen me with my daughter, everybody was just like, oh, this is doable. So we can go pick up our kids. We can go pick up our kids and stuff. And so for me, unlike the other ladies, I did not have anyone to leave my daughter to. At home, I'm considered, like, as you can imagine, I had a child at 35. Most women have their children in their mid 20s, early 30s. 35, it's a bit late in our culture, right? So even within my family, I was just like a late bloomer. So my mom was already very old to be looking after my child. So even though everyone at home, like my sisters, were like, listen, we can take that child, we can take that child. When the child was there and I was looking for people to pick up the child, there was nobody to do that. And so I never had a choice. So for me, so I never had anywhere to leave my daughter. I never really had anyone. I had options, like my sisters could have. But when I looked at their lifestyles and I just,
Yeah.
But so I don't really relate with the whatever. But what I relate with is what Muli has mentioned, that her child was like, I'm Chinese. I don't understand. Like when my daughter was socialized, she got socialized in the Chinese atmosphere. The first people she got to embrace were Chinese people. And the first time I knew there was a problem was when we had gone out and she had met some of my friends. And then she saw one friend of mine. She was like, oh, there's Uncle Gift. He's brown. That's when I knew that something was not okay with my daughter. Because if we were in any space, the first people she would smile at would be more drawn to were the Chinese people. That's like a big, big thing, right? For us, because when they are now around you, their own people, they feel alien. They feel like this is not where I belong, which was when I took a decision to start taking my daughter to these spaces that were mainly filled with Africans, but very grown up spaces. For example, we have like the Chisanyamas, like bride days here. The bride days are Saturdays. Everyone is happy, is having their drink and whatever. And I remember some of my friends used to question me, so why do you bring your child in this environment? I was like, my child does not know who she is. She does not know she is Black. She didn't know. So I was like, I would rather people judge me for bringing her to these semi, because it's not spaces where everyone is just drunk and acting erratically. No, it's not. It's just spaces that are filled with adults. In South Africa, adults don't mix with kids. But I was like, there is no other space where my child will see Black people in their fullness, right? So it is vital for me to bring her to those spaces to know who she is. So I took a decision. So in Beijing, wherever I go, I'll find people that can recognize my daughter because I make a point of bringing her to these spaces that make her appreciate who she is. Right now, my daughter is quite comfortable. You can't do that alone. When they say it takes a village, it does take a village. You can't do it on your own. So she can't rely on me in instilling that African spirit that she needs, that I can't do it on my own.
Yeah. I think this is one of those. I think this is one of those things. So from what all three of you have said, and something that I can, having spoken to so many people already abroad doing this, being an expat, and I was having this conversation with someone earlier this afternoon already, being an expat is one of those things, you have to give up something. There are sacrifices that one makes. Yes, the money may be good. Yes, the lifestyle and the travel may be good, but something has to be given up. And very often it is that family. And when you have little ones, and I remember myself, when I was living abroad, when my daughter was first born, You don't have a mom or a grandmother or an uncle or an aunt to be able to turn to for help. You don't have others from your own sort of culture and your own sort of, they grow up a different lifestyle, so there's no help. You do it yourself. You have to be self-sufficient. And something then that you refer to, Zoe, as well, in terms of being able to get help. How easy then is it referring or getting help from other South Africans or other people abroad there when you do have a problem with your daughter, or you want to be able to take her somewhere to be able to play with others from within your own culture? Is it easy, or is it a real challenge?
Is the question to me?
Yes, yeah, to
All
you,
of us.
Zoe.
Oh, to you.
Okay. I'll give you an example, right? I was raised by a very strict mom, right? My mom had 7 daughters. And so when you are I came from a, what do they call it? Dual family. But like I had a mom and a dad. I don't know what that is. What is it called? A nuclear family. But anyway, I had both parents around me, right? So it was quite, wait, I forgot the question. What was the question?
So getting help from others, because you're not there.
Getting help.
You don't have a mom, an uncle or aunt, grandparents who can take children and look after them. There's no other South Africans near you that you can go and send, your little one to go and play with. So how easy is it for you to get help there?
I will take it back home because there is this idea that when you go back to South Africa, you're going to have the best help, right? You will have the best help because finding a nanny is quite affordable, comparable to here. Mm-hmm. But in terms of your actual immediate helpers, I don't know, you see. But I will say this. I come from a family of 7 girls. Of the 7 girls, I was probably the last one to have a child. And so I grew up seeing how, kids are being raised and whatever help was there and whatever. But I was so, I got a very rude awakening when I realized that, oh my God, there's so much that takes to raise a child that I never knew, even though my nieces, some of my nieces and nephews were raised by me because they were raised by my mom and I was still living with my mom and whatever. But until I had a child, I realized no, mothers need so much help. So I made it a point that when I do come to China, I will reach out to everyone that I know has a child here. So till this day, every South African that is in Beijing, they know I'm the first person to say, hey, if you need help, I'm here. And when my daughter was still young, I had a full-time nanny and I had some moms whose children were older than mine. And I always made them know that if you need someone to look after your children, bring them to my house. I have a nanny, and so on and so on and so on. So for me, I'm a firm believer in if you want people to do as if you want people to help you, you gotta help them first.
Them. Yeah.
I picked up this from the fact that I had so many nieces and nephews and I never understood the needs, like what my sisters needed that time, how I could help. Until I had my own child, I was like, oh hell, I was not helpful at all. I didn't understand what they needed until I had my own child, which is why I'm now I know what's up. Do you need help? Bring your child here. I will take care of your child now. Okay. And so in terms of help, I don't know how to answer this because I already had the kids today call it a following, but I was already very much known and loved in the Black expat spaces in China.
You make yourself
Greater China. So for me, when I had a child, when I was pregnant, I had a lot of help. Not necessarily but because I had already grown that following. Okay, you don't have to finish that.
Bule, and
I had
you?
already wrote the following. So I don't know how to answer this. I don't
No,
know
that's
how.
fine. So if you help others, which is why you found it easy to get help from others in turn. Bule, and you, I know now your little one was born, with COVID on its own. So that was a little more challenging for you and possibly very difficult to get help. Even in South Africa, I think it would have been very difficult. But now, how do you find getting help from others? Is it difficult to find help, or are
It's
there more?
easy to find help because even when Malachi was born, I had to stay in IE. So I didn't have a problem. I had a nanny, a Chinese nanny. She was there for Malachi every day. So it was easy for me because she would just get her friends. If she had something to do, she'd call her friends to look after Malachi, go to the hospital, go get the shots that he needs. So it's easy I was getting help from Chinese people most of the time when I was still in Shenzhen. And then of course there's mom groups, but still there wasn't a lot of help from them because people are busy, people have their own lives, you know. I was just getting help from Ai and her friends, from the Chinese people.
Okay.
But then now in Beijing it's different because in Beijing there's a lot of parents, there's a lot of moms. So now it's easy to get help, I think, in Beijing.
And you
Hello, my connection.
sorry, and use the
We
under
can
how
hear you. We can hear you.
easy is it for you? Yes, we can hear you, Bully.
I think I agree with both Uzo and Puleng because when you create that community, that community, then it's very easy for one parent to just say, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm going to come drop Linani off. So the difference with Zoe and we always try to plan that. When she was talking, I'm like, yo, I don't know how many times we tried to plan this, but then we live in different districts. So in Beijing is a very big city. Our districts limit us from doing those things. You'd want to plan play dates, sleepovers, or whatnot, but then it limits you in that. So for me, I have one South African lady that was working in my school. We live in Shunyi. Literally every weekend, our kids would be in each other's homes. And if I need help, I know. Even if I decided 9 o'clock that, in fact, I want to go do my things now, I can just send a message and I can drop Linani off. And I don't want to lie, it's so nice to have that because it also, you know, we can teach our kids certain things, but there are certain things that they can learn from other families that we don't know, or we don't know how to tap into. Sometimes I have a very serious problem with how sassy Linani is, but when she goes to my friends' places, I think they know how to tame her down and deal with the sassiness in a different way than how I do. So I try to take those opportunities more because I think she learns more when she goes to other places and the manners, and she gets to come back with different things. She came back this other time. You know, I have a habit of forgetting to pray, but now she's on it. She's like, before we eat, we need to pray. And that's something she came back with from another family that she went to. So I truly appreciate those things. But I hate that because of distance, it limits us with other people. So it's always the people that you are much closer to that you get to do it. But it's very easy.
Okay.
It's very easy. Even with the locals, getting nannies with locals, the most easiest thing.
That's what I wanted to get back to, something that Bule mentioned, and that's with the locals and with your Chinese people around you and hospitals. You said, Bule, that was very, very easy or relatively easy to get help from them.
Yeah.
How, in your experiences, Zianda and Zoe, have you found how accommodating or how helpful are your employers, for example, and other Chinese people around you when you do need help? When, for example, it comes to having to take someone to a doctor, how easy is it when it comes to having to go to a hospital? Is it an absolute nightmare, or are they more than willing to sort of help you?
With my colleagues, the ones that are, am I going to say, in the side of like westernized. For them, it's easy. Even taking Linani, they randomly say, we want Linani in our house this weekend. They take her. They adore. Linani is the only foreigner in the school right now because one left. So they love Linani. They adore Linani. So Linani randomly goes to their homes, randomly is called for play dates. And then when it gets to helping with things, I'm struggling right now with healthcare because the one my school renewed and made for us, they didn't put the kids as beneficiaries. So they're currently trying to help me. So they tried to help in small things, even when she was sick. That you remember the time she had a very high temperature?
Yes.
They were cooking porridge for her, taking her off my hands. If she cannot go to class, literally she goes to chill in the principal's office. So when it comes to helping, they're very nice. They help.
Are understanding.
Yes. And the nannies, local nannies. I told Zoe recently that I switched from using foreign nannies to local nannies because the local nannies are always available, but the foreign ones, sometimes they want to go dance, they'll have their own plans, so we can't get them. Yeah.
Zoe, for you, would you say it's been the same sort of experience for you? Employers, other Chinese people around you are more than eager to help. They are understanding when it comes to healthcare. It's not a nightmare.
Healthcare. Oh, so healthcare and nanny care, for me, are two different things. When it comes to healthcare, my daughter is probably on the most basic of healthcares because
Share.
I'm just like, my school is, I guess my school's also the same thing. If I get sick, I better have some money, some savings to go pay for myself before I go claim. So I always need to have enough money for one of us to get sick. So I don't really, I don't know, I don't think about it much because nonetheless, I always need to have enough money in my bank account for if I need to go for an emergency, right? For healthcare. So that goes for me and my daughter. I don't think that like we would get sick at the same time. So I just have enough money for one of us. For like an intense thing.
Hope you don't. Imagine that amount. It is
so one of us would have to sacrifice the life. I'm ready to. But anyway, so okay, so there's that, like the monetary part of things. But what is overlooked is actually accessing the right hospital, the right doctor. Now, this is the nitty-gritty stuff that people don't understand, because in China, you can hop around hospitals and you will be taken from the moon to the sun, because the one hospital will say, we don't have any English doctors, bring your own translator, which is like rubbish because most of them actually can speak English. But some of them just don't want to be bothered with a foreigner, especially a black foreigner. Let's just be clear about that. And so sometimes I need to use my forceful nature to get the help that I need. But half the time, I think within the hospital, there's always one person that's hospitable, right?
Mhm.
To say to you, oh, here is this poor foreigner with poor language barrier. I have a little bit of English. I'm not as shy. I'm not as whatever. I'll help them. So it's never like too dire, but it is extremely frustrating. It is extremely frustrating. For something that would take perhaps 10 minutes, it could take something like 2 to 3, 4 hours, simply because of the language barrier situation. Yeah. When it comes to nannies, though, for me, I've always, like, my daughter was raised by African nannies right through. I used Chinese nannies probably just twice in her entire time, but I've always just had African nannies. I don't have any nanny now because I don't have a life, so yay.
And so you've not been out, girl.
No. The streets are missing me.
I am dropping my baby there.
Bring.
So for you, would
Yeah.
you say it's the same? Maybe access to healthcare or being able to get support with hospitals and medical facilities. It's challenging. It's not as easy. And your support from Chinese people around you, acceptance in terms of employers when they're sick, that sort of thing. How is it for you, Zoe? Sorry, not Zoe. Boulay.
Oh, Boulay.
Bule. So for me, it's easy. You know, I haven't had any problems when going to the hospital because in each and every hospital, there will be one or two Chinese person that can speak English and they will try. Because I think the treatment is different with foreigners, you know, because you can see how they treat other locals. They don't care, they give them attitude. But when it's a foreigner, they act differently. They do want to help all the time.
That's right.
And
Not
also
all
I
the time.
that's what I've experienced. I haven't had any problems because Malachi broke his arm in June and we had to leave the house at like 6 and then we got there at 8 p.m. It's the hospital in the Hutongs. You see, it's like a public hospital. There's a lot of people. We got help. There was no problem at all because there was one who could speak English. But also, I think I learned medical Chinese, so I can understand little about, you know, being
Yeah.
sick, about temperature, about this. So I haven't had any problems. And also my school helps when there's problems with that. They will call or they'll send someone to go with me. So I've received a lot of help. No problems, just easy, a breeze for me and Malachi.
Okay, brilliant. And sort of
Can I ask,
yes.
Zoe and Boulay, are you guys using your school's insurance or like an independent one by yourself?
Independent schools don't cover for kids, unfortunately.
Okay, so which one are you using? Can you please share the one that you use? I'm looking for a medical insurance for Linani because now they can
Because I'm being very irresponsible with this. Like I said, like I just have one little amount of money saved for in case one of us gets sick. Both of us get sick, one has to sacrifice their life. Yeah.
Boulay, which one do you use?
Yes.
AIA, it's a Chinese company. AIA. They have their headquarters in Chaoyang.
Okay. And is it also you pay and then you can claim?
Yes.
Hey.
But it works even outside of China. You know, it's good.
Okay.
It works out of China. Even in South Africa, you can use pay with your
Really?
money. Then they'll give you, yes.
Okay, that's good then.
So, next topic that a lot of people often ask about in terms of the accommodation, what is the accommodation actually like in China? Is it one of those, for example, I know in some countries, you know, you go as a family, you have a husband or you have a little kid or a husband and a kid, and you get a one-room apartment that's barely big enough or smaller than the average bathroom back home. What is the accommodation like living abroad with a family? Let's start with Zianda. What would you say is the accommodation like? If you had to compare it to South Africa, what is it like?
Is it the same? I don't know. In South Africa, I only lived in my mom's house and then I went to school, student accommodation, and then I just came to China. So I'm not really, I'm clueless, guys. I don't know. Like with the cost, I really don't know. I can't say which one is better and with
It's
how
big
it
enough
is.
for you and Leilani. There's enough space. Sort of, it's modern. It's not sort of, you know.
I think it's modern because I've seen ones in the other Asian countries.
Yeah.
I think for China we have modern ones. It depends also where you live though. Like I think if you live closer to the city, then they're not as modern as the ones that are far from the city. So I live in Shunyi, so we have modern and spacious. They have everything. Landlords are not hard to work with. Like the one that I have, it was fully furnished, newly renovated. Whatever I asked for, she bought it and did it. So it's not hard to get what you want. And in Shunyi, it's not expensive because I pay for a 2-bedroom that has a kitchen, a bathroom with a shower, spacious, a sitting area, dining area, a laundry area. Yeah, and I only pay 4,000, and it's newly renovated. Everything is new. Everything was bought when I was moving in. So yeah, my experience might be different.
Yeah. So what's your sort of accommodation like? Are you happy with your accommodation?
So, at my school is more closer to downtown, so we are considered like a downtown sort of school. And one of the main things that attracted me to my school was the accommodation aspect of it, because it is so hard to live closer to downtown, and rent can be quite steep. So my school's offer was, we'll get you accommodation close enough to downtown. And so when my daughter was born, up until last year, actually, yeah, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment because it becomes addictive, basically, to live downtown. You know, the accommodations are a bit dodgy sometimes, a little squeezy, but you don't pay. Like, if Ziana wants to come to the streets, she knows how much she gotta pay. She knows how much she gotta pay to reach the streets.
Yeah, so I'm far. I am so far. Like, I need to pay. Maybe I spend like more than 200 rands or
you
two
see
to the city.
So for me, I paid nothing to get well when I was out and about, right? So that's what I was always just like, hey, what do I value more? Because I could have moved to bigger places, but I would have to move away from town, of course. So my daughter was raised in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I had a nanny there. I did buy a mattress for my nanny from IKEA, which was very comfortable. And so I was raised with 6 siblings, like 6 sisters. And when I was young, my mom was a teacher in another village, not the same one where our original home was. And so I was like, I was very used to tiny spaces. I don't know if I am anymore. Tiny spaces never used to bother me at all, even when my daughter was born. And my nannies were Africans and they were full-time sleepover, whatever. I was raised in such a space. I can share such a space with any person. I don't know now, since I've now introduced myself to these bigger spaces. But initially for me, a 1-bedroom with a big enough lounge or whatever, I could share it with any person. I'm just like not that person, because I was raised around many people around me. So we choose, if you want a bigger space, then either you're gonna pay more or you're gonna move away from town. But right now, I'm living in a 3-bedroom. Like, as I'm having this conversation with you, I'm in the library. So now I have a library. My daughter has her room. I have my room. I have a lounge. So I have moved into a bigger space. It's still not. It's still not that far. It's still not that further away from the city, but it's not the popular part of town. So the majority of the people that you want to mingle with are not here. So
And you, Pule, what is your how do you feel about the accommodation there? Is it big enough? Is it modern enough, comfortable enough?
So comparing it to South Africa, it's big, it's very cheap, right? Because in South Africa, water is expensive, electricity is expensive, other utilities, it's very, very expensive. But here in China, you pay like 50 kwai, maybe 100 rands a month, for everything. It's very cheap here. Water, electricity, everything is very cheap and it's big. But the shower, the bathroom is different. The
Very
shower is not enclosed. Everything is out in the open, But in South Africa, there's a glass that closes it, But here it's different. So we live in a 2-bedroom apartment and it's very beautiful, fully furnished, modern. Because also when I was in Shenzhen, I lived very far, always close to the airport because I'm ready to go. Always close to the airport. In Shenzhen, I was close to the airport, 2-bedroom apartment. It had a balcony, mountain view,
Places to
very
go.
cheap. And even here, I'm close to the airport. I'm far away from life, far but cheap. So that's me. When I move to any place, I go very far in the Bundus, close to the airport. Big apartment and cheap. I don't care about the city. I can go to the city anytime I want, but I just want to be far and pay less money because the life in the city is busy. You go outside, it's so busy. Oh no, no, I don't like that. I like peaceful mountain view, trees, nature. That's what I like. So I like that about here. There's a lot of trees. You're close to nature, and it's very big and it's fully furnished. The landlords are great. When there's any problem here, you can just call the landlord, they'll fix it. But in South Africa, they don't care. They don't care about it. Fix it yourself. Use your own money.
So
Hey, I'm a landlord.
I'm a landlord. I don't do that.
Oh.
Oh, please.
This brings us on to another part. Yeah, Z, so you both landlords. How easy is it?
Called you.
How easy is it to be able to, if you're living in China with a family, be able to afford living there with a family, with school, be able to travel with them, but also still be able to have some money left to be able to actually, save, to have your own place back home, to fill, do university savings, those sorts of things. Is it possible? Or is it a case of you uproot everyone, you move your family abroad, you go there, and it's no different to back home? You hear horror stories where some people, they've gone through all this effort and now they're just struggling on the other end of the earth. Would you say it's similar for you, or would you say it's very different? It's not that sort of horror story for you, that you are actually able to save, make a better life for yourselves. Zianda, shall we start with you?
It's not easy because first you need to have discipline.
Yeah.
There are some months where I look and I'm like, what? Did I get paid? Where is the money? What did I do with the money? So if there is no discipline, then you're really going to blow that salary. But it is doable. You can do it. I remember when I was going to purchase my apartment, I needed to sacrifice everything. When I wanted to go on a trip, I'm like, no, I'm not going. These next months, I'm just saving. So there are many things that you need to sacrifice for you to reach your goal. So I always tell people when I'm live on TikTok and they ask me, so how much do you guys pay? Like, it's not about how much we get paid. Even if you are being paid 20,000, if you set a goal and you tell yourself that I want to reach this and I want to do this, you can do it. So yeah, it's not easy.
And you, though, what would you say?
Me?
Yes.
So if you remember when I mentioned in the beginning that like there's quite a big age gap between myself and the rest of the people on the panel, right? when I first came to work in China, it was 2013. What I was getting paid was the exact same amount I was getting paid in South Africa. Nothing was different. It was the same amount, if not less, as I was getting paid in South Africa. But for me, I've always just like been that person that was motivated with saving money to get the bigger thing. So my mentality has always been whatever little money I get paid. So I've never been the one to chase the money. I've always been the one to work within that won't drive me over the edge and always save, 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 save. So when I first got here, I was getting paid the same amount that I was getting paid in South Africa, which was not much. It was just really not much. But the driver for me was the fact that I wouldn't have to pay for accommodation and transportation. I was living on campus and I would just have to walk to work, and I ate on campus. And so me being the person, like Zianda was saying, that it's not about how much you get paid. It's about who you are as a person, how disciplined you are. So for me, I would have months that I don't touch my salary and it just goes straight back home. And I had already purchased a home when I moved to here, right? And so phew, the discipline part of things is ultimately what separates people from other people. Like, if you live here in China, it's very easy to be on the bubble. You can have the best hair you want, the best clothes, go to the best countries, eat the best food. Every weekend you can do that with the salaries that we get paid. But you would be sacrificing on your later years, that in towards your retirement. Most people are not putting anything towards their retirement. They don't have like apartments. They're just putting that in the back. They're just counting the number of countries that they've visited and how many more they need to visit, what kind of clothes they are showing up with, how they are getting to those places, who are they flying with, and so on and so on and so on. So it's again down to what a person's priorities are. I am in the verge of paying off my second apartment. Like I told you in the beginning, I was getting paid, if I must tell everybody, I was getting paid 14,000 rands in South Africa, 14,000 rands on my name while I was still working in South Africa. And I moved to China, and I think they were paying me actually in China 13,000 rand. But when I calculated it, I was paying 4,300 rands towards my rent, and I was paying about 2,000 towards my car. So that meant about 6,000 of my pay was going towards just the rent and the car. So as soon as I got rid of that 6,000 was going nowhere other than to my mortgage. So I tapped my mortgage. I paid off my first house, right? And because I had that mentality that I can actually use up to 70% of my salary if I stick to that, thinking that I'm still getting paid the 14,000 that I was getting paid in South Africa, to buy more and more and more and more,
to build wealth. Yes.
Yes. So I'm now counting months that I would be paying off my second apartment.
I remember that. Yes.
So it's ultimately, like Zianda was saying, it's not about how much you get paid, because honey, we can do this. Hey, we can do this. But
Elaine, your side, what are your views in terms of, are you able to act? Is it worthwhile?
I'm not.
young. You must also say I'm young. Please say that.
Yeah,
I'm young.
I'm not 30
Yes.
yet. So I've been, I'm
See?
only 27 years. So, but
Young.
most of my money is going towards renovating my grandmother's house. So next year I will focus on me because I grew up in a 4-room house. So I obviously needed to do something with that. So that's what I have been doing all these years, right? So I think now I'll focus on me because I needed to do that first, and then I can focus on me.
But being in
I
China,
also want to be a landlord.
so being in China then has afforded you the ability to be able to renovate your parents' home. It's like the Underzo, it's afforded you or given you the opportunity to be able to buy a property back home, being able to save, to be able to set yourself up financially. So you are able to sort of do that. I did a webinar not too long ago. You ladies will be able to make it a little bit easier for everyone to understand. But if you save, and I got this from, we were going to have someone else on the webinar as well. And one thing that she's very proud of, this other girl, is that she managed to make R1 million already. And it is very doable. And I did a webinar on that not too long ago because of her. And the fact that if you're just saving 5,000 RMB, you can save R1 million in as little as 5 years. If you're saving 10,000 RMB every month, you can make what I did the webinar, where's the statistic quickly? You can make R1 million within 3 years, or even 2 years, depending on how you do that. And if you're saving 15,000 RMB, it'll take you less than 2 years to save up R1 million. So, and the three of you, how easy or difficult would you say? Is it possible to save up 5,000 or 10,000 RMB, or is it just pie in the sky? You won't be able to ever do that.
Yeah. Guys, for me, I'm gonna call myself a breadwinner. I'm not a breadwinner. My mom was, my brother was, but I'm the one that is more privileged to bring in, maybe I'm not gonna say a lot of money, but like more than them. So when things happen, if something breaks or whatever happens for my family, they look at me. So sometimes my savings, I have those goals of saying, yo, I want to reach to this, but there's always going to be something that's going to just
eat away.
Yes. And I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how I would get to a place whereby I'm just like, it did happen for such a long time. Even when I was saving for my house, yes, I saved. I think that was the last time where I just had like maybe a full year. And that time we didn't even have COVID and there was no disturbance of anything. And I could save on a full year and I could achieve what I wanted. But recently, there has been so many things. So I struggle with that. But you'd say overall, it depends. It depends on like, who are you? What kind of family do you come from? What are your responsibilities? Because for me, I have a lot of responsibilities, and also it comes with Linani and what I want to do. So yeah, I think it's responsibilities.
Okay. So one of the questions, I see someone asked a question in the chat group, wanting to know what are the ages of your little ones, because they have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So no, we're not talking about teenagers. I know Zianda's is 7, and I think yours is also yours is 7. Bule is 4. Zoe is 7 as well, your little daughter, Zoe.
Yeah,
Mine is 6
already.
Mine is 6. Linani is 6.
Okay,
Linani is 6. Yes, Linani is. But she's sort of like.
What do they say? 6 going on 16.
That's her.
Something like that.
So, just in general, then, just to sort of wrap up, because it's been nearly an hour. If you had the choice to do it again, would you do the same? Would you go to China and take your little one with you, or would you rather just stayed at home? Let's start with Boulay with that one. If you had the choice, if you could do it all over, would you go to China, take your little one with you, or would you rather have stayed at home?
That's a tricky one. But I think I would have still decided to come to China. I think because life is easy here, you can save. Because for me, I think now I am disciplined about saving. If I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do for 12 months, I will do that. I will. And my family knows that no 100 rands, no 500, no this, no. You must tell me in advance. I can't just give you money because there's something that's happening. No. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, there's that discipline of saving, and it's very convenient. It's very safe compared to South Africa. You know, we live a very good life. It's easy to live a good life here. You can afford anything you want. So I would have done it again.
And you, Zoe?
Chile. Sure. That question is very loaded for me because me, unlike I think the current pool of South Africans that are here in China, me, I was already an established government worker at the National Treasury back then when, you know, the National Treasury was considered one of the best departments in South Africa. And when I left the National Treasury, I left it simply because I wanted to, because when I was there, I I realized a certain skill that I had, and I wanted to go private, but I needed capital, which I did not have. So when I first came to China, I came here not because I was running away from the fact that I had a failed marriage, but I was also coming here to come raise money so I could go back home and start a business. Um, am I happy that I've been able to achieve the things that are mostly achieved by doctors and engineers back home? Granted, I'm happy about that, but do I really have the life that I wanted for myself? I don't know, because I'm a person that values intellectualism, I value spiritualism, I value like communal, like I value things that aren't tangible per se, that that make a person, that makes a person, like the things that I value for me are not purely just material. So if I were to advise somebody that's out there that like is a person that is driven by, you know, being around people with the same mindset intellectually, the world order, spiritual things, like just the things that make me me, like China has stripped me of such things that make me whole. So granted, I have all these material things, but I'm always missing something.
Yeah. And you, Zianda, if you had a choice, if you could do it all again, would you make the same choice? Go to China and take Lilani with you, or would you rather stay back home?
I would do it again. I'd do it again. I don't think I was going to be living the life that I'm living now if I was still in South Africa, because for me, I studied something that I don't know why they teach it in South African universities. I don't know, because they don't have jobs for us there, you know?
Don't mention it because you don't want to, you know, break
You
another
know,
person's
so,
dream. Don't say it.
I don't think that I was going to be able to give my daughter this life and also give myself and my family. I think my family was going to struggle in so many things whereby now they find themselves saying, we don't need to tick that box, child. We okay. So for me, I do it over and over and over again.
Okay.
One of those people that always go on TikTok and be like, come to China. I'm like that. I'm like, come here. And it's for you. You will see if it works for you or it doesn't work for you. But yes, definitely.
Well, ladies, thank you so much, Zoe, Bule, Zianda, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully, others on the call have found it helpful. I will chat again to all three of you later on. Have a good evening, and thank you for giving up your evening to be able to join us.
Our pleasure.
Welcome.
Goodbye, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a nice one, Matthew. Bye,
Bye.
girls.
Bye, girls. Good night.
Bye.
Nani. I got it right this time.